A poor farmer once cultivated lands claimed from the waste, but his crops provided very little value. One day he heard sounds of laughter and merriment coming from his barn, and cautiously put his ear to the door. It was the little pixies threshing his grain. The pixies did so much work for him that he was able to attend to many other jobs he needed to get done, and thus finally catch up. Pixies, as with most fairies, were intimately involved with humans, especially as it related to work on the farm. They might live on the moors and other wild places, but they were neighbors to humanity and cared deeply about us, at least much of the time. Further, as with many fairy-like beings, they needed humans, and at night they frequently snuck into people's homes to rest, bathe, and drink clean water and enjoy the fire. These latter 2 points seem to be common among the fairies, which needed human help in obtaining clean water, and often didn't seem able to start fires on their own, although not always. Because the pixies enjoyed a clean and warm home, they would frequently reward those who kept such things, often leaving coins in the shoes of those who had a clean house. One girl who lived on the moor kept her house clean, and so was given a coin, but made the tragic mistake. She told people about her luck, and the pixies never left her another reward. Those who have a relationship with the pixies must keep it secret, for the pixies are a secretive lot. Although contrasting this, they punished those who didn't believe in them. Pixies were serious enforcers of morality, hating laziness and greed, which they punished, and loving hard work and kindness, which they rewarded. Although they share many similarities with the English fairies, one shouldn't make the mistake that the pixies and fairies of England are the same thing. At the very least, they are separate kingdoms. It is a matter of tradition that the fairies wished very much to establish themselves in Devon, but the pixies would not hear of it, and a terrible war ensued. Oberon was, with his host, defeated, and his majesty received a wound in the leg, which proved incurable. None of the herbs in his domain, though the principal secretary, Puck, has been in search of one of healing nature ever since. This picture of pixies as great warriors who fought wars against the fairies is contrasted by another image, that of pixies as naked, bedraggled beings who dwell on the fringes of human society. For now, pixies shrink year by year every time they use magic, and so will eventually vanish in some folklore, although not necessarily all folklore. But wait, I hear you ask, I thought pixies were mischievous figures that led people astray and pulled their noses. Yes, they are both those things, sometimes. This more mischievous side of their nature seems to grow as they travel west, being more common in Cornwall than Devon. While in Marblehead, pixies are wicked beings opposed by the kindly, moonlight-eating fairies. Here the pixies delighted in causing trouble for people. They especially loved to bewilder people. A person who is pixelated, as they call it, would wander about for hours. The only remedy for such an afflicted person was to turn their garments inside out, which is of course true of Cornwall as well. Pixies are complicated creatures, for they can bring luck. They can also bring the opposite. One young man dated a pixie changeling, and as a result of the bad luck she carried with her, her cows died. His food went bad, everything went ill with him after that, until the sad end of his days. In another case, a boy named Tom was returning home when he came across a party of merrily dancing pixies. Instantly the pixies formed a ring around him. Dancing furiously, they whirled round and round. Tom was constrained to turn with them, although so rapid was their pace that he was utterly unable to keep up with their frantic movements. In vain Tom called upon them to stop, his cries only causing the pixies to laugh. In the height of this din, the sun began to rise. The folks instantly vanished among the crevices and rocks. Many people's negative encounters with fairies run something like this. People come across them while they are throwing a wild party, and they, in the midst of their merrymaking, harass the interloper. Other times they lead people astray, causing their milk to spoil or pinch them, etc. Rarely do they simply attack a person outright, however. There are exceptions to both of these, however. From stories like this, you can see that pixies, as with fairy-like beings, are childlike, in both good and, in this case, bad ways. Finally, pixies in this case must flee the coming of the sun. They don't simply vanish, however. Instead, they must jump into the little cracks and crevices of the moor. Pixies are complicated beings who exist on the one hand as wild creatures and on the other as beings who help humans with domestic tasks and farming. We see these ideas within the common fairy traits I outlined in my previous video, and we'll see them many more times in many other fairies. Otherwise, they wouldn't be common. One last interesting tidbit. There is a story about 3 pixies and a fox, which resemble closely the story of the 3 little pigs and the wolf, with the fox eating the pixies with poorly built homes. It's hard to say if this is an older version of the story or not, but it very well could be. After all, England didn't have pixies, and so might have substituted them when they got the story. Again, it's hard to say exactly what the origin of this story is. Well, that's all for now. Toodles!